Hey, how's everybody doing today? So this is Mike from Quality Aerial Solutions, and I'm going to go over a breakdown of this breakfast nook area. It's a real simple photo. This is the final version right here, but kind of give you guys a little insight of everything that goes into even just a very simple corner shot photo like this breakfast nook. So this again is the final version. This is what it looks like right before it gets rendered. And here we have our ambient natural layer. So this is all the natural light that we're going to use in the photo. Looks a little dark right now, but all we're using is the light. So may even just brighten this up just a touch. So we have this layer, then we have our flash layer right here. So one of the things that you're going to see in our secondary flash layer is we're trying to avoid this little flash hotspot right here on the door and this one right here on the crown molding. So if we were not going to do anything like this, then once we brought our ambient layer back in, this would essentially just look like a gray spot. And we don't want that. So with this right here. So it would look like there's an issue that's affecting the property, and we don't want to have that. So there's nothing there. Clearly, it's just a hot spot from the light. You can see the little spot from the door stop right there. We're going to leave that. So next we have our second flash layer, and this is where you can see I am on the other side of the room flashing because I'm illuminating this side of the room over here. And then we have our window pull layer right here. So a couple things with this layer that I'm not real happy about. So the outside should probably look a little bit warmer, a little bit more like that. So, and you can see I'm clearly all in this picture, and it is just horrible and all overexposed, flashy, harsh shadows over here. I don't care about any of this stuff. I'm not using any of this stuff. I'm using the window. That's all I'm using. That's all I care about. You know, I try to tell people all the time when doing these photos, it's kind of like putting a puzzle together and the different layers, and you're just kind of utilizing what spots you need. It's not changing anything. It's not taking away anything. It's all the same room. It's just different light bouncing from different areas. That's all. So anyway, we'll grab our window layer. We will grab our second flash, our first flash, and then our ambient. And then we will open these all as layers in Photoshop. So I did hit all of these layers with a preset during import that goes ahead and corrects all of my lens profiles, any of my barrel distortions, chromatic aberration, all of that good stuff. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. Just understand that when I do import, there is a preset that I do have that drops highlights, gets rid of a lot of the shadows so they're not as harsh, and it fixes everything from the camera and the lens to make everything look as accurate as it should. And this is all done in Lightroom. So here in Photoshop, we have all of our layers open, and now you can see we have our ambient layer on top. We have our flash layer next. We have our secondary flash layer, and then we have our window pull. So we'll show all of these again. The ambient layer, because the way I shoot, my ambient layer is always first, so when it loads into Photoshop, it is always on top. This is where you start thinking about your edit during your shoot process, not afterwards. So you have to be very systematic in the way that you approach things when doing this type of photography. It seems to work for me. I'm a paramedic, been a paramedic for a long time, so a systematic approach and following procedures, protocols, and guidelines, it's all very similar to what I do and use in photography. So with that, with the ambient layer, so we want to switch this to a luminosity. So you can click right here and you can scroll all the way down, luminosity, and all I want is the light. I don't want the color, I don't want anything, I just want the light. That's it. So I actually have a keyboard shortcut that does this for me. First thing I want to do though is make sure all my layers are aligned. So select all layers, align, auto align all layers, and usually you can see just a little tiny white edge. Yep, you can see it on this picture too. Even when shooting with a tripod and not touching your camera at all, just the shutter mechanism itself will throw your photos off or your layers off a little bit. So you want to make sure that you correct that. Now back to selecting this one, and we're going to do a luminosity mask. So luminosity mode again, and then just a hide mask. Now we have our two flash shots here and our window pull. So let's drag our window pull up to the top. We will put this into darken mode with a hide mask again. So this is pretty much just our two flash shots left. So what do we need to do about this? Well, I need to hide this one right here. And you can either go right here and just option click to add a layer mask. Or again, I have keyboard shortcuts that I've set up to make this process so much quicker. You just don't even understand when you go through hundreds of these photos a day how much time this saves and adds up. So here you can see where I start to brush myself out, and I can leave this at 100% and it's going to be fine. I generally don't leave it at 100% just because I don't like some of the harsh shadows that I end up picking up sometimes. So I'm just going to undo all of this, and I will set my brush flow right here to 10%. And that's usually what I roll with for most of my layer blending. And then you can see I just paint myself out of this corner. Pretty simple, straightforward for everybody that's ever looked at my photos and go, well, I've seen some of your window pulls and you're standing right there in the middle of the picture, and how do you fix that? Well, there you go. That's how I fix it right there. So I'm just kind of brushing myself out. But now what I did fix by doing that was that, remember that little flash blur that we had over here? Yeah, that's gone. So fixed all of that. And you can say, well, it's a little high here and a little hot there, and you can see a little bit of flash, and yes, you absolutely can. But once we start painting back, and I'm gonna make my brush a little bit bigger. So flow 10%, and once we start painting in this luminosity mode and painting in the natural light, you can see those little, some of those little flash spots go away, and the natural shadows come back. And look at that. And the light off of the chandelier looks like it's supposed to. Shadows up on the ceiling like they're supposed to. The shadow that was there on the door, guess what? It's still there. But what we did create, unfortunately, was a very blurry window. Anytime you do ambient shots, you're going to have a blurry window just from natural light, and it's just the way that ambient photography kind of works. So with the flash photography, we knock out all the ambient, which is what actually allows you to see out of the window. So what we're going to do is, remember we put this window pull layer, which is on top. If you don't know how Photoshop layers work, this is not the video to teach you how to do that. I'm trying to keep it very short and sweet, just to kind of show you what we do in our process. But what we are going to do is go in here, we're going to adjust our flow to 100%, and then we're going to come right in here and boom, just paint that window right back in. So this is one of the beauties of using the darken mode and overexposing your windows so much better. And let's see. Now that's, you can see how those windows are clear. One thing I'm not really liking is this harsh shadow right here. And I don't know if this is going to make it any better or any worse. It's probably going to make it worse. So we'll end up just leaving that. It was a natural shadow. It's there. Just sometimes I don't like how harsh they look. So I will try to lighten those up just a little bit. Just depends on the room situation. But that's everything blended together. Now everything looks really flat and everything looks really bland. So how do we fix that? So we go back here. We flatten all of these layers together. Everything's aligned. One quick check I like to do is just on like the corner of objects. Ooh, not that far. But the corner of objects, I like to go in and just kind of sometimes see everything looks lined up. Sometimes between your ambient layer and your flash layer, some of your alignment can be off. Just from the way the shadows hit, it thinks corners and lines are not where they are, so it'll line it up a little bit different, but everything looks good on this one. So again, we'll save this, go back into Lightroom because it should import it. right back. And here you go. You can see it loading. Ooh, look, I'm gone from the window pull. How about that? So, next thing, it still looks flat. It still looks bland. You look over here at everything from exposure, contrast, everything's right down the line because this is exactly how it got imported back from Photoshop. So sharpening, noise, chromatic aberration, all that stuff, all left alone. So, which is also why we didn't fix all of that with our previous preset. But what we will do now is, once it's brought back into Lightroom, is we will hit it with our final preset. And you can see just how much of a difference that actually makes. Well, now you might say, well, now it looks a little tilted. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. One, because this preset has a vertical fix in it, so it fixes all my vertical lines. But with some that sometimes it tends to make, especially with these smaller rooms, it really just seems to kind of pull it forward a little bit. So it may look like it's off. So what we will do is, again, because we want appropriate lines and we want correct verticals, so we will go in and we will adjust that. And now with this photo here, so this is not going to be straight. This is not going to be straight. It's all coming into a viewpoint right here. Again, same with the bottom. So really the only thing we really want to make sure that's straight is right here. The doors are always going to be a little off. And if I take this off, you can see that. So I can adjust it that way. It just looks weird. I don't know. So we'll see how that looks. Nope, don't like that. So I will hit my vertical, go back to my crop tool, and I will straighten that up a little bit. I will bring, yep, like that, a lot better. So, and that's pretty much exactly how the final looked that we had to begin with. So here's the final we just rendered, and here is the final. Once it finishes loading, you'll see the brightness and color. But yep, pretty consistent, pretty close between the two. Can't really tell a whole lot of difference. And that's why we prefer this method, because it is very consistent and it is very systematic. You do the same things from photo to photo, just changing up the actual photo background and everything. But it is consistent, so that way you guys get consistent results every time. When you present this to potential clients, you present consistent results to them every time. And as you can see, I took you through this entire editing process, and this is high end right here. It really is. I wish I could tell you that it wasn't, but this is exactly what they do for interior design. Now, they might go in here and adjust a little bit of things here and there. Like for this one, I actually will bring this exposure up just a touch, just to make it a little bit more bright, a little bit more inviting. And then I will drop my whites down because it's going to be my light fixtures, yep, are highlighted. And you can see that. Which, for a digital age and doing digital marketing through Zillow, Realtor.com, listing on the MLS, it's all digital. This doesn't matter. When this highlights here and the shadows here matter is when you're doing print quality and magazine quality. So if this went to print, everything that you see highlighted in red right here, it would pretty much just be pure white. So we want to adjust that and bring that down. So the way we do that is we can either hit it with just our lights and bring that down, which affects the highlights for everything in the picture. So we'll bring it to about right there, or we can just bring the whites down a little bit, and depending on how far down it needs to go. See, and that's where we start playing which is going to be better. So I've knocked out most of it in this area here, still have some on the light, but to be honest with you, I'm going to let this one roll just the way it is. So I know this realtor, I know he doesn't do a whole lot in print. I do a lot of homes for this realtor, so mostly everything is through digital marketing, so it's not that big of an issue. Now, if you were going to do like a print keepsake book for some of your clients after the fact, because let's face it, somebody's lived in this home, somebody's lived in this property, this is a family home, a lot of memories in here. They want to remember that. We want to preserve that. We want to show it in the best way possible. So if you were going to do print, then please let us know, and that's something that we will adjust so it doesn't blow out the photos that bad when you actually go to print them. But again, I digress. This is just one of the things that we do here at Quality Aerial Solutions, and you can see I haven't really adjusted any of the luminance the saturation a little bit, and I'll bring the blue down just a touch on this room. Yeah, make that look a little bit cleaner, and the whites are a little bit whiter like they're supposed to be. That color is pretty accurate right there. So, and we will save this, well, add it to our quick collection, and that'll be what gets rendered and sent. So there you go. There's a breakdown of a real simple breakfast nook with a window pull, fixing some of the flash issues that we had on the door over here, removing ourselves from the secondary flash over here, and adjusting the color balance to get just a little bit warmer color outside of that window pull there. And again, nice clear windows that you can see out of. Very high end. This is something that, to be honest with you, I would turn over just about to an interior designer for this photo and this room. I might want to adjust a couple things, but again, commercial shoots and interior design shoots are way different than MLS shoots. So in case you guys did not know or don't know, so MLS is where most realtors, almost, well, all realtors list their homes for sale, and it's broken down into regions. Well, they all have certain guidelines and rules and stipulations for posting photos to the MLS platform. One of which is you can't remove property affecting items, you can't Photoshop it overly and remove things, fix things. Like if there was a hole in the wall, like, yeah, I could clone stamp and not make a hole in a wall, but I'm not going to do that because that's there. I don't want somebody to look at these photos and say, well, it doesn't look anything like it did in the picture. There's holes all in the walls, and the carpet's trashed, and the ceilings are trashed, and the windows broke. And yeah, I can fix all of that stuff in Photoshop, but I'm not going to. That's not the way the property represented it or represented. So when we do MLS listing photos, and this is where I've had discussions with some realtors in the past, like, if it's a promo shoot, then you need to tell me. If it's an MLS shoot, then you need to tell us. And the reason being because for commercial shoots, like when I say commercial, I don't mean just a commercial building. I mean commercial shoots like marketing, advertising for the website, for interior design, for magazines, things of that nature. There's a lot more things that we can fix and adjust and make it look exactly how the property owner wants everything to look and be presented, because that is their brand. When it comes to MLS, we're kind of bound by only so much that we can do. Now, as you can see, when we did the breakdown of this photo, I did nothing but literally manipulate light. And all that was taking the flash shot, knocking out all the ambient light. And we do that because all these light bulbs right here throw off a different color temperature. All this ambient light coming through this window throws off a different color temperature, which is no problem, and it's natural, and nobody ever really thinks about it until you go into photos. But it may end up, this lamp right here may make this white that is supposed to be white look yellow, and it's not supposed to. Or it may make it look blue, and it's not supposed to. So it's supposed to be white. This is supposed to be this nice tan, beige, light sand color. So it's just bringing that stuff kind of back into it, and especially with like paintings and stuff. These were all hand done, and somebody took the time to do that, put that there, along with the color coordination of the flowers, and that was all time. That was all time somebody spent doing that. And we want to make sure that we show it the best way we can. But I didn't remove the electrical light here. I didn't remove that spot here. It's still there. You can see it. It's still there. It's just the light hits it a little different and shows it a little different. That's all. It's still there. So we don't try to do anything that would ethically change property value, or I guess make somebody want to come visit this home just to come here and find out that it's trashed. And we're not going to do that. So, by the way, this home was absolutely top notch. One of my favorite shoots that I've been on so far. Just the conversations me and the property owner had were just phenomenal and awesome. And yeah, I was really, really thankful for getting to go shoot this property. So again, we do it not just for our clients who are or real estate agents or property owners, but we do it for the actual property owners too, because this is their home. And most of what we do is residential, so that's why I say home. But even if it was somebody's business and they're trying to sell it, it was their lifeblood. So we want to give it our best effort that we possibly can. And we do take the time to fix, and well, not fix, but we do take our time to make sure that all the details that we possibly can make look as good as possible, that we do that and give every property that goes onto the market that we photograph the best opportunity possible. And we absolutely want some photos that are going to stop people from scrolling and come in and take a look, and eventually hopefully call you guys and go take a look in person and see everything. And our job is to make sure that when they go see it in person, it looks pretty much like it did in the photo. Yeah. So anyway, that's our spiel. That's what we do. That's just a breakdown of this breakfast route. Try to keep it real short, real simple. With that, if you guys are in Eastern North Carolina, we function out of Richlands, North Carolina, but we operate really anywhere outside of Richlands. Once we go past 50 miles, we do add a $50 mileage fee, and that pretty much just covers our wear and tear on the vehicle. So with that, 2,000 square feet home and under, well, under 2,000 square feet, let me say that, $200. Uh, you know, I hear people complain, and I'm going to end up getting right back on the soapbox here. And I don't mean to, but it's just one of those things. Like, these photos are high quality. They are as good as we can possibly make them. They are interior design quality. They are magazine quality. Or print quality. For $200, a lot of realtors don't want to pay to have professional photos done, and that's fine, and that's your prerogative. And maybe the homes, and not every home justifies having professional photos done. I'll be the first one to admit that. There are some homes that I've been into that, to be fair, if they went in with a cell phone and took photos, it really wouldn't have made that big of a difference. They're investor properties. There are holes all in the wall and everything. There's those ones I will do HDR shoots. I try very hard not to, but there's just some that flash would not be beneficial. Especially like if the ceiling's coming down or peeling off, and you guys might laugh and say, "Well, what kind of home?" We shoot everything, so we do from the $15,000 lot to the $30,000 investment home that has absolutely no sheetrock, or construction properties. We shoot those to high-end luxury homes. We do it all. So not every house we go into looks like what we post on Facebook and website and Instagram, because I can promise you some houses we're just not going to post. I don't even want to post it for the homeowner, to be honest with you, just because some are in rough shape, and they are, and it's through no fault of anybody. I don't know what happened, and I'm not here to blame, discuss anything. That's not my prerogative. We go in and document the property the best way that we can. So that's pretty much what we do. So with that, there you go. There's a breakdown of just one simple room, and this is the same process that we use for every single room that we photograph, in every single house. Doesn't really change. So with that, Mike from Quality Area Solutions, we'll see you guys around.